Gorgeous day here in rural Newfoundland, although pretty cold. It's a little windy. We're heading into the workshop to do some leather work. Hard to beat having a view like that out of the front of your shop. Now, there's going to be a lot of you new folks here watching that came from the restoration videos. And while I do a lot of restoration work, and that is kind of what started my business and working for myself, right now I'm more of a full-time knife maker. I own KN Knives, that is KN for Kyle Noseworthy, which is my name. I'm a one-man show here. I build everything myself, completely from scratch, all work done, leather work, steel work, the heat treat, nothing gets sent off, everything is done right here in shop. Now I do have a bunch of production patterns, models that I put up on my web store. Links will be down in the description there somewhere. Production models that you can regularly shop, but I also do a lot of custom work. And one of my most recent custom builds, and this one isn't available anymore, it's been purchased, but one of my recent custom builds is this Bowie right here. Bog oak handle, hidden tang design, 6061 aluminum guard. Check out that spacer, that beautiful blade. Got the nice deep fuller in there. Now this piece, this knife, is done, but the leather work isn't. So that's what we're going to be getting to today. But like I said, if you want to go and watch this build, you can. It's up there right now. Got a beautiful piece of leather hide here today. It's always nice when your piece of leather gets worn down a little bit, cut away. You don't have to be manhandling these giant sides of cow anymore. It's this nice piece we're working with. You can maneuver it around here for cutting. It's really nice. Now some of you caught a glimpse of a gentleman over my shoulder in the ending of the last video. Some of you asked if it was my dad. Yes, it was. And we love playing darts. Now, while I'm pretty terrible at darts, my dad is actually pretty good. This dartboard was a gift from my wife for Christmas. I hung it up here in the shop, and me and Dad have been really enjoying it. Lots of afternoons. He'll come up for an afternoon coffee here in the shop, and we'll throw a few darts, have a couple games. I rarely win, but it's always a little bit neck and neck when it comes down to the end of it, so it never seems to get old. I said I wasn't very good, but I guess I was just being modest there. Let me just throw one more set here before we get started. Let's get lined up here. Sheesh, now what are the chances of that? Okay, now we've had our fun, but now it's over. We've got some cardstock here. It's time to start drawing up some templates. If you're looking to get into doing a bunch of crafts work, I highly recommend you keeping cardstock on hand at all times. Now here's the part where you definitely don't want to mess up. Even as a maker who goes through thousands and thousands of dollars in leather hides each year, it still really stings when you cut out a template or cut out a piece of leather or mark on a piece of leather and you end up not being able to use it or it's garbage. That really, really stings. So let's try to avoid that circumstance. It's one of the most beautiful textures or densities on earth, I think. Now I always rough cut my pieces like this first, that way you can maneuver them, get very comfortable while you're doing your precise cutting, and I find on average over time you end up with better results. You end up with more accurate cuts because you're comfortable when you're cutting the material. Another cool video from back in my old workshop days. Morning. We didn't get that project started until late yesterday, so we're going to be picking it up this morning. First we got to tend to the chickens. Ooh, it's crisp here this morning. Calm, but quite cold. Good morning, girls. Good morning. This whole chicken coop design is actually built on a small utility trailer. I have a whole video series on it where we built it, and that's so I can move it around, or if I'm leaving town for a few days I can just hook it up to the truck and... Hey, get out of my face. If I'm leaving town for a few days, I can just tow it to my dad's. And... Hey, you're mean this morning. What's up? Good mate. Got 4 eggs this morning from 6 hens. They've been kind of taking a little hiatus. Hens kind of phase in and out of laying seasons, particularly in the coldest months of winter. They'll phase out of laying, even though they have a heat lamp and everything in there, and they're nice and warm and cozy. They've got all the things they need. They still go through those regular life phases, just like all of us. 4 is the most I've gotten in probably 2 months now. But in the summer season, when they're in good laying season, they are good layers. I get 5-6 eggs every single day from 6 hens, which is great. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is this mess, these hunks of leather that I'm doing here? So we're doing a sheath design. As you can see, this is a pancake style, so lap. It's not a taco style sheath that's folded. But when we have a thick guard like this, notice the width in this dimension. If we were to just do the backing like this with a front flat plate, pinch here, notice what happens to this backing. It has to take a really harsh bend to get out around. Whereas if we can use a sheath that has some depth like this, it takes away a lot of that bend. Of course, you'll see it better once it's all stitched and done, it's built properly. But what we'll do now, this is rough leather, we'll taper this down. I'm gonna go ahead and do our edge profiling first so I can see the shape, but then we'll taper this dimension down. We'll see it all come together nicely. Okay, now it's time to do our tapering here. I prefer to do this with chisels. This is a set of chisels that I built for myself from scratch. I think that width will do. Have a look. I wanted a small hand carving chisel. I find a lot of chisels are way too long. I want something short and good looking, so I did a knife style full tang chisel. See that? 3/16 stock. Micarta, brass pins, we did brass bolsters here, everything from scratch. Actually, I'm going to go with my slightly wider, my 3/4 here. I'm going to give it a few strop passes just to make sure we are razor sharp before we start carving here, because leather, being a soft live material, wants to push and malform in front of your edge, so you need a razor sharp edge so you pass through it without that. I'm going to use a K&Knife strop here, one of my own. If you're looking at getting one of those, you can head over to my website. But a few passes on a good hardback strop like this. If you want, you can get some good polishing compound, add there if you want a little more aggressive stropping, but this will do here today. Woo-hoo-hoo! That's sharp. Now we're going to start tapering just like this. This is some thick, hard leather here. See how we're profiling that? We'll refine it a little bit on the belt sander in a minute, but that's what we're going for right there. Here we go. See, we have a nice fade there now. Looking very good. I never even thought to mention, but we had it here on the bench. That's exactly what I did with our chisel pouch here. Of course, those chisels have to go into, we want the body of the chisel itself to tuck down in the sheath. Look at this, full 1 inch. Love that. But we need it to tuck down in the sheath, and it wouldn't do that if we just had a standard single welt design. So we have to build it up so that they fit just like that. Now here's the beautiful sort of ASMR part, the mesmerizing part here. This is a stitch groover. So our leather stitching is going to sit down here. Let's watch this. Isn't that cool? What a beautiful tool. Now we have a nice trench here that our stitch can sit down in. That sort of stitch sits below the surface. This is a proper way, a good long-lasting way to do a leather stitch. Your stitch sits below the surface of the leather, so it doesn't catch on stuff when you're walking by or things like that. It doesn't wear the same over time. It's protected. Our stitch marking wheel. Look at that. That last hole went right to that peak. That's perfect. Now, a bunch of you commented in a recent video that I was a heavy smoker because I was there working with my hands. One of my hands, my fingertips here, my thumbs were all yellow and brown. I am not a smoker. I've actually never touched a cigarette in my life. What I am is a leather worker, and sometimes I don't take the time to grab gloves, and I end up spraying my fingertips. And I know it looks terrible, but you guys notice everything. We're going with a nice chocolate brown here. Custom mixed color for this application. So nice. Oh yeah, that is exactly the color that I wanted here. Now I have one more color mixed up here. There we go. Yeah, that's the color. Stunning. Oh, look at this color tone. That's exactly what I want to notice. That fading. We have a light highlight in the center, fading to a little darker, and then our darkest on the edge, so closer to a sunburst chocolate. My God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. And yes, if anyone is wondering, this little anvil is a piece of a headstone. Don't be alarmed. I have a buddy who used to work in like a fine stones manufacturing facility, and he got me this piece. There was a headstone order, and the headstone accidentally, I believe it got dropped or something by another delivery company, so it was brought back because it was broken up in pieces, and he passed along a couple pieces to me. And of course it's beautiful granite slab, which craftsmen really like for work like this, especially leather workers. Leather workers really love that hard slab. I would deem that a successful and completed build. Check out the edge of that welt that we burnished and polished there. Check out this fit up here, both against the sheath and against the upper side of the guard here. Double snap. Boy, those fresh snaps are stiff, but check out our fit. And then our blade, which is a little bit smudgy there now, but we'll give it a little bit of an oil coat. Get it packaged up and shipped off. Thanks so much for making it this far in the episode. If you are one of the few that did, I really appreciate it. Hit that like button if you would. Leave me a comment down below. I know we have a lot of new subscribers following now. I want to get to know you guys. I usually read all the comments, or I try to. I respond to as many as I get the time to. And a lot of my regular audience, my regular commenters, I feel like we're friends because we just talk all the time. They comment on my videos, I comment back. And all you new people here, I would love to get to know you in the same kind of way. So if you would, go ahead and leave me a comment. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I would love to hear it. Subscribe if it is your first time here. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.